Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series Season 2 Invitational in Columbus, Ohio. I am Nick Miller alongside Rudy Briksza. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Nick?
Pretty good. You'll know Rudy from the Open Series. He's in the top 25 of the points leaderboard right now. And today, he's 6-0 at the Invitational, 2-0 in Legacy, and we're looking at his Legacy deck, which we're calling Shardless Bant.
Yep.
Not Shardless Bug, Shardless Bant.
Yep.
Now talk about this deck and how you came to come to this conclusion.
So a couple weeks ago, on a whim, we decided with a couple of my friends that we were gonna travel to SCG Providence for the Legacy Open. We didn't really feel like playing Standard, and I had a Modern PTQ on Saturday. So I was spending a lot of time trying to figure out what to play when he showed me this deck. He's like, here, come here, Skype in with me. Skype in with me, brings up this deck, and I was like, what is this? And you look at it, and it's Shardless Agent, Ancestral Vision, Stoneforge Mystic, Ensnaring Bridge, and you're like, well, what the heck is going on here? And we played, I was like, all right, I'm intrigued. You have my attention. Yeah. We played some 2-mans with it. We played an 8-man with it. We didn't lose a match. Multiple matches, just couldn't possibly lose with the deck. And I was like, all right, I'm hooked. So I put the deck together. I made some changes. I talked to my friend Jacob Corey, who's
notable on the SCG series.
Yep, big Legacy fan. And he bounced back a couple ideas to me. I bounced back a couple ideas to him, and we came up with a bunch of changes to the deck. They were really subtle for the most part. The deck originally had 2 Enlightened Tutor. We cut one of the Enlightened Tutor packages, one of the Enlightened Tutors, and we added a Sensei's Divining Top to the deck. We also have a Detention Sphere in the deck as well. Right. One of the awesome things about this deck is, as fair as it is, as fair as it seems, Stoneforge Mystic, Shardless Agent, Detention Sphere, okay.
Right.
Great. What's the catch? And the catch is that we're playing a combo in our deck. Yes. We're playing Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry, which is an old extended combo from way back before I even started playing. And having access to that deck and something that Shardless Agent can cascade into and Enlightened Tutor can find puts away a lot of decks. For example, I was playing against Kent Ketter earlier today, playing Bug Delver, and game 1 it did not look like I was going to win. He had Goyf, he flipped Delver, played Liliana. 2 turns later, he conceded. And that's the power of Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry.
Yeah, that combo, Brian Braun-Duin was using it in Miracles. You know, it floats around in a bunch of different decks. So you can sort of just kind of port that into many different decks. Here it looks really at home because obviously you have, you know, the Shardless components that you'll see in the Shardless Bug deck. You know, Shardless into the Ancestrals. You have your other targets that you already mentioned, and the Stoneforge Mystic as your creatures.
Yeah.
But here you have the combo. You also have the Enlightened Tutor package. Go ahead and talk about that, most importantly, Ensnaring Bridge, and how good that's been for you.
So Ensnaring Bridge was one of the cards that every time I talked to somebody, they were like, no, Ensnaring Bridge is not good. It just can't possibly be good. And every time I cast it, it was the best card by a mile. It's insane. So like when you think about when Brian played it in Miracles, he played Thopter Foundry in Miracles, and it's awesome because you can make a bunch of creatures, you can do a lot of stuff, but a lot of the times like you can't beat certain cards, and you have to like try to find a terminus. You have to find a way to lock your opponent out. Ensnaring Bridge for the most part locks your opponent out. Yeah. I played it on turn 3 against Blue White Red Delver in the Open in Providence, and he was dead, and he knew he was dead. Like
the Delver decks,
no way.
game 1 just have 0 answers to it.
Right. A lot of them. The only one that does is Bug Delver, and even then you're playing cards like Academy Ruins, and you're playing a bunch of threats that you really stress their decays out a lot. They have to pick and choose, and they have to be very careful. Not a lot of people know what's going on with this deck. They can have ideas here and there, but nobody knows really what's going on with the deck right now. So they have to use their abrupt decays very carefully. A lot of times they just spew it on value for getting a Shardless Agent or a Stoneforge because they can't beat a Batterskull, and then you play in Bridge and they're like, oh, well, I kind of wish I had an abrupt decay.
And you like this deck, of course, because in a world of fair decks, you're super grindy in those fair matchups. All your cards, your Ancestral Visions, your Stoneforges, your Shardlesses, all just getting super value.
Yep.
And your Academy Ruins that brings back, Sword, Ensnaring Bridge, Shardless Agent, all that stuff.
My favorite thing to do is just put Shardless Agent back on top of my deck. I was playtesting against somebody who was playing Bug, and I played it Academy Ruins, passed. He wasted it. I put Shardless Agent on top of my deck, and he was just surprised that I put Shardless Agent on top of my deck and not like something else that was in my yard. And part of the reason is Shardless Agent just gets you so much value against a lot of those decks. And we have so many good targets too. We have Stoneforge Mystic, Jitte, Sword of the Meek, Thopter Foundry, Enlightened Tutor. I mean, obviously Ancestral Vision, but like we can also hit top. or Swords to Plowshares or Brainstorm. Everything we can hit is very good for us, and it's always going to be good value.
Seems like you have a lot less dead targets mid-game, whereas like the Shardless Bug deck will come into a Hymn or a Thoughtseize or something when they're almost empty-handed. It's blank.
It just doesn't do anything. For the most part, we can't really hit anything that's too big of a blank.
All right, and of course you have Force of Will, Misdirection as your permission with Brainstorm.
So part of the problem with playing Shardless Agent in a non-black deck is you don't have access to Thoughtseize and you don't have access to Hymn to Torok. So we really have to lean heavily on our Force of Wills against a lot of the combo decks. And that's why there's a Misdirection in the deck. It kind of acts as a 5th Force of Will. We have a lot of blue cards in the deck, between Vision, Brainstorm, and Thopter Foundry. So we have plenty of targets to pitch to Force of Will. But Misdirection kind of acts as our 5th Force of Will, but it also has an added bonus. It can misdirect Swords to Plowshares or an Abrupt Decay to their creature or to their true name nemesis, and it's a good way for you to get a lot of value out of it even in the fair matchups.
So you're kind of worried, against combo, it's where your post-board matchups, you have a lot of stuff that comes in to help shore up those matchups because you're so heavily leaning on Force of Will. Now, what are you bringing in the sideboard? You've got Flusterstorms, you've got Meddling Mages to help your combo matchup?
Yep, those are also really good, obviously, against every combo, because Meddling Mage, you can just name many things against them and really lock out. So many combo decks at the current moment are just so weak to Meddling Mage. You name Show and Tell, like they have to go on Sneak Attack, and you have Pithy Needle in your board to name Sneak Attack, so like that puts them in a position where they have to find Pyroclasm, they have to find Red Blast, and what are they going to Red Blast? Like you have so many different targets in your deck to Red Blast, they have to be very careful. They have to use their resources very carefully because you're forcing them to use all of theirs and you're forcing them into a position where they have to make moves based on what you're doing, and you just get to hold up and do what you need to do and you get to progress your game plan.
Then if your board also has a bunch of options for your Enlightened Tutor package.
You
got Relics, you got Aethersorn Candidates, Humility. Talk about Humility and its interactions with it.
So Humility is awesome. So the way Thopter Foundry works is it just makes 1/1s. Sword of the Meek comes back and equips those 1/1s anyway. So with Humility, you still have your combo intact. Humility doesn't block your combo, but it shuts off Elves. It shuts off Goyf. It shuts off Delver. Like it shuts off Nimble Mongoose. Like being able to plow a Nimble Mongoose or block a Nimble Mongoose as a 1/1 is absurd. And so Humility really helps a lot of those creature matchups. It's also really good against Show and Tell decks, or Sneak and Show specifically, because you just play Humility and all of their guys are 1/1s, and they don't necessarily have an answer. In fact, I know looking at most of the sideboards of Sneak and Show, like what Todd put in his list, it didn't look like he had any answers to resolve Humility.
I've seen a lot of decks like Reanimator and Show and Tell equally have problems against that card.
And they're all playing Abrupt Decay for hate in their sideboard, and Humility is 4. So it's very hard for an Abrupt Decay to deal with it. They have to draw like a Golgari Charm or Nature's Claim, which barely any of them play, if they play at all.
Lastly, we've got this sweet conspiracy card, Council's Judgment, which is basically the 3-mana kill anything.
Council's Judgment has been awesome. It's really good against all the fair decks, and it's really good against a lot of the combo decks too. It's just something that you can use over and over again. It's really good against counterbalance decks because it hits Jace, it hits counterbalance. Counterbalance can be a problem sometimes. Rest in Peace can be a problem for the deck, because you're an Academy Ruins, Thopter Foundry Graveyard deck. Rest in Peace can be a problem. Council's Judgment is just an answer to that card.
I love the fact that this card can just kill anything. True Name Nemesis, Progenitus, stuff like that.
Well, I thought Progenitus had protection from everything. Well, not the Judgment.
I mean, I've seen people play it and you see pictures of it and you're like, oh yeah, that interaction is a thing. So, all right, well, 6-0 so far, 2-0 in Legacy. Hope to ride this out for the rest of the day.
That's the plan. Is I'm gonna ride undefeated as long as I can.
All right. Well, Rudy, thanks for sitting down with me here on the sideboard. So everyone stay tuned for more action here at StarCityGames.com for the Invitational in Columbus.